So let's see. We ended with me calling my aunt and saying, "Please help me." Um, I was just in tears. I didn't know what to do. But then I was so sick and I didn't feel good and I just didn't know where to go. I knew I didn't want to go back to the doctors that I had been at. Um, they did nothing but throw weird words at me and not really help. Um, so my aunt sent me to the best, one of the best doctors in the world. Um, and she, of course, she traveled a lot, and she didn't have a lot of clinic hours, but she took time out of her schedule to fit me in right away. Then I think within the next 2 days, I was in her office, um, and there was no big blood test done. They had decided I had type 2 diabetes, um, because I was a little bit bigger. I had my grandparents had type 2 diabetes. One of my grandparents had type 2, one had type 1. Um, but the medicine I was on created type 2 more than it created type 1. So they had decided I had, um, let's see if I can remember, steroid induced type 2 diabetes. Um, this was about, now we had been doing this for about a month. So for 2 months, after that, I was treated with Humulin and Lantus, which really wasn't working. My A1C was still up towards 11, if you know what that means. Um, I was sick still all the time. Um, they tried to fit me in as much as possible. I was always complaining. I hated the needles. I was in there all the time. They were seeing me once or sometimes twice a week. Trying to figure out what's going on. They finally started doing in-depth testing because my stomach was getting worse. Um, they thought maybe it had something to do with the numbers that I had been dealing with all this time. Um, they diagnosed me with diabetic gastroparesis, which meant my stomach was paralyzed um, due to high sugars for a long period of time. They did some in-depth testing and figured out that my body was no longer producing insulin, which they do on kids very frequently if they have high numbers, but on a 20-year-old, um, almost 21, um, it wasn't done as much because then they're an adult. Um, so it wasn't seen as like a juvenile onset anymore. It was an adult onset, so it wasn't seen as much. I was then called into the office and my endocrinologist diagnosed me with type 1 diabetes and I cried. Um, they had told me that if I had lost weight, if I had ate right, if I had stopped eating sugar, if I had done all the stuff, which I had done everything, um, I would have gotten rid of diabetes. I knew that it wasn't happening. I was still seeing these numbers. I was still taking this insulin. Um, they hadn't switched me to oral anything, but I knew then that I wasn't going to get rid of diabetes. It was going to be part of my life for the rest of my life. Um, but that's okay. Now I had to accept it. Um, we were 6 months in, and that meant 6 months out from an insulin pump. Most insurance companies give you an insulin pump after a year. Um, and that was okay with me. Um, we started talking about an insulin pump because I was going to school and I was very active, coaching, and I rode horses, and in college I played lacrosse, and I wanted to do everything. I taught swimming. Um, Even through being so sick, I wanted to be just like everyone else, just normal. And to me, this had become normal, checking my sugar all the time, um, eating right, you know, and so 6 months later, they put me on the insulin pump. And I have been on the One Touch Ping since then, and I love it. It has saved my life because I hated sticking myself with needles. Mine is green. I have it in a cover because I work at a summer camp during the summer, so I will be off to summer camp in less than 3 weeks. So getting ready, putting stuff together, which includes putting my insulin pump in a cover to keep it from the uh, torture of camp, um, which is another video I'm going to make, I think, next. I have a lot of time off because I'm out sick because my sugar's been really high. And I have an infection in my lungs, so I have lots of time. So this is my first 2 videos. I'm going to make one more, I think, today. And then I'm welcoming fans if you want to start suggesting. Yeah. Hey, diabetes. You have diabetes, shout. Yeah.